Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into the absolutely wild story of Flight 914. Picture this. A totally normal flight across the Atlantic suddenly becomes this impossible trip through time, through a war, and into a history that, well, let's just say it's been dangerously rewritten.
So it all kicks off with that announcement we've all heard a million times, right? The captain's voice comes on, super calm, promising a smooth, routine flight to London. But for everyone on Flight 914, the word routine is about to become a distant memory.
And then, bam! Out of nowhere, with absolutely no warning from any weather service, the plane gets swallowed whole by a storm that just shouldn't exist. This is way beyond just a bit of turbulence. We're talking about something the crew, with all their years of experience, has never seen. This is the exact moment their trip goes completely off the map.
So you can just imagine the chaos inside the cockpit. Alarms are screaming, and all their instruments. I mean, these are literally their eyes in the sky. They just start failing, one after another. And the craziest part? There's no electrical problem, no reason for it at all. It's a total catastrophic system failure out of thin air.
The pilots are doing everything they can to regain control, but they're quickly realizing this isn't just some freak weather pattern. It's like a vortex, something that breaks the laws of physics. They are flying completely blind, right into the middle of something that, scientifically speaking, just can't be happening.
Okay, so this is the moment it all flips. Think about it. They fly into the storm and it's daylight. They come out the other side and it's pitch black night. Instantly. And to make things worse, every single line of communication to the ground is gone. Dead. They are completely, terrifyingly on their own.
And you think it can't get any weirder, but it does. The feeling of disorientation just keeps getting worse, because what they're seeing out the windows, it's not the 21st century anymore. They're about to find out their problem is a whole lot bigger than a broken radio.
So they're desperate for any kind of answer, right? They decide to drop below the clouds to get a look, and what they find is just chilling. Of course, no cell service. The radar is completely empty, no other planes. And then they see it with their own eyes. Below them is a full-on aerial dogfight with old, vintage planes that look like they've flown right out of a history book.
Somehow, they managed to get a signal on an old emergency frequency. And a British radio operator comes on, and he says the one thing that just completely shatters their world. He confirms the date. It's June 17th, 1940. Think about that. They haven't just gone off course. They've traveled back almost 80 years.
But the horror? It's really just getting started. Because they find out that the Dunkirk evacuation, the famous story of a heroic rescue from their history books, well, in this timeline, it was a total disaster, a massacre. So it hits them. They didn't just go back to the past. They've landed in the wrong past.
Now, a situation this impossible is bound to cause problems. And a serious divide starts to form inside the plane. Why? Because for one passenger, a soldier, this whole thing isn't a disaster at all. He sees it as the opportunity of a lifetime.
And just like that, a huge debate kicks off. The soldier's plan is, well, it's audacious. He wants to use a history book he has with him to find and assassinate Hitler, to change the world for the better. But the captain, he's seeing all the risks. He's warning them, one single mistake and our 21st century plane could get captured. And if that happens, they could create a future that's infinitely worse than the one they came from.
Well, they managed to stop the soldier's attempt to take over the plane, but his question just hangs there in the air. Why are we here? If this wasn't just some random accident, then what's their mission? And that's when a couple of history professors on board come up with a totally different, pretty radical new theory.
And it's this kind of light bulb moment. They realize maybe their purpose here isn't to kill one person. Maybe it's to deliver a piece of technology. Think about it. The one advanced system they have that's still working is their radar. And in 1940, that radar system could, all by itself, change the entire course of the war. So they hatch this absolutely wild plan. They are going to literally cut the radar system out of the nose of the plane, stitch together a makeshift parachute from whatever they can find in the passenger luggage, and then coordinate an airdrop with their contact from the radio. The goal? To give the Allies a technological edge that would have been unimaginable back then. And unbelievably, the mission works. But it comes at a huge price. They get chased by enemy fighters and the plane gets shot up pretty bad. Now, they're stranded in 1940 with nowhere safe to land, heavy damage, and, get this, only 80 minutes of fuel left. The clock is seriously ticking.
So the fuel gauge is dropping fast. There are no safe runways in this war-torn version of the past. Their only hope for survival, their only shot is to take a massive gamble on the same impossible storm that got them here in the first place.
The captain has to make a final desperate call. He sees another one of those bizarre storms forming on the horizon, and he makes the choice. They're going in. He's basically praying that this thing isn't just a storm, but a doorway back to their own time.
And you won't believe it, but it works. They punch through to the other side, their engines just sputtering on the last few drops of fuel. And then the radio crackles to life. It's a modern voice, an air traffic controller, clearing them for an emergency landing. They did it. They're home.
So just imagine the relief. The damaged plane is gliding silently down towards the runway. Everyone thinks, we survived, we're back in our own time. But there's just one final question hanging in the air. The controller never actually told them which airport they're landing at.
And that's when the final, chilling twist lands. The voice on the radio congratulates them on making it down safely and then says, "Welcome to Berlin." It hits them like a punch to the gut. They didn't just change the past, they've landed in the terrifying future that they themselves created by mistake.
As the very last passenger is getting off the plane, he turns to the captain and says something really cryptic, hinting that this whole thing, it might not have been an accident. And that's what we're left with. The ultimate question. Was Flight 914 just some random freak event? Or was it a mission all along?